Welcome everyone to Cowboys Versus Ninjas, your daily dose of samurai and gunslinger stories. I'm Adrian.
And I'm Julia.
You've shared some fascinating sources about feudal Japan, and today we're exploring a story that seems to be all about defying expectations.
Oh, yeah.
It features a tyrannical ruler, a disgraced samurai, and a cunning ninja. What more could you ask for?
Right. The story centers around Lord Akita, and the sources really paint a picture of his brutality. It makes you wonder how people could survive under such oppression.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's where our protagonist Kenji comes in. He's a ronin.
Right.
And for those unfamiliar, that means a masterless samurai. The sources suggest he's been disgraced in some way, carrying the weight of a tarnished reputation. What do you make of that?
It's interesting because it immediately sets up a conflict.
Yeah.
Kenji is driven by a thirst for revenge against Akita, but he's also struggling to clear his name. It makes you question whether his motives are purely about justice, or if there's a deeper personal struggle at play.
It's a great point. The sources even describe him as stoic and skilled with a blade,
Right.
which makes me think he's a man of action rather than words. But this internal conflict adds a layer of complexity to his character, wouldn't you say?
I agree. It humanizes him. He's not just a stereotypical vengeful samurai, but a man wrestling with his own past and trying to find his place in a world that's turned its back on him.
So Akita is holding a lavish feast in his palace, while his people starve outside. Kenji is watching from the rooftops, waiting for the right moment to strike. It's a powerful image, don't you think?
It is. It highlights the disparity between Akita's opulence and the suffering of his people. Kenji is literally positioned above it all, which could symbolize his moral high ground or perhaps his detachment from the everyday struggles of the common people.
And just when you think the story is going to follow a predictable path, another character enters the scene. Akiko. She's a young ninja, also targeting Akita. It's an unexpected twist considering samurai and ninjas are traditionally depicted as rivals.
Exactly. It raises the question, what could possibly unite these two figures who are seemingly from different worlds? The sources describe Akiko as cunning and agile, suggesting she operates in a completely different way than Kenji.
The story describes a silent standoff between them in the feast hall, the stoic ronin and the agile ninja, each assessing the other. Despite their differences, they have a shared enemy in Lord Akita. It's a fascinating dynamic, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. It forces you to reconsider the traditional roles of samurai and ninja. Here, their shared goal transcends their historical rivalry,
Right.
highlighting the idea that sometimes even enemies can find common ground when faced with a greater threat.
Suddenly, Akiko makes her move, bursting into the feast hall and taking Akita hostage. Swords clash and chaos erupts. Kenji is forced to improvise, joining the fray. The sources really emphasize the contrast between their fighting styles.
Right, Kenji is described as being powerful and precise with his katana, likely representing a more traditional samurai style, whereas Akiko utilizes speed and cunning, embodying the more covert and deceptive tactics often associated with ninjas.
You can almost picture it, Kenji carving a path through the guards with his sword, while Akiko darts through the chaos like a shadow.
The story doesn't explicitly name any specific techniques, but it does mention Akiko using smoke bombs and throwing stars, which aligns with our general understanding of ninja weaponry.
Then comes a turning point. Kenji has a clear shot at Akita, but he hesitates. It's Akiko who points out that a dead Akita is useless. A living Akita holds the key to clearing Kenji's name.
This is where the story explores the conflict between honor and pragmatism. Kenji, bound by a samurai's code of honor, likely wants to confront Akita directly.
Right.
But Akiko's approach forces him to consider a less straightforward path.
It's a dilemma that has resonated through stories for centuries. Does sticking to your principles always lead to the best outcome? Or are there times when compromise is necessary to achieve a greater good?
That's a question many of us grapple with in our own lives. And the story doesn't offer an easy answer. It simply presents the situation and lets the reader draw their own conclusions.
So they end up forming an alliance, a ronin and a ninja forced to work together.
Wow.
It's a partnership born out of necessity, not friendship, and that creates a lot of tension.
It's a classic enemy of my enemy is my friend scenario. But the sources highlight the mistrust between them, suggesting their alliance is built on very shaky ground. It makes you wonder if their opposing philosophies will ultimately lead to conflict.
They're now on the run, hunted by Akita's loyalists. The sources describe a treacherous landscape of betrayal and deceit, which paints a pretty grim picture of their situation.
It's interesting because this element of the story resonates with a theme we see throughout history, the struggle to maintain trust in a world where allegiances are constantly shifting.
The story culminates in a final showdown, and an abandoned temple. Kenji and Akiko are cornered outnumbered by Akita's men who are determined to collect the bounty on their heads. What details about this final battle jumped out at you?
The story describes Kenji fighting with ferocity and Akiko with agility. It seems like it's a true test of their skills, with each character pushing their limits to survive.
You can practically feel the tension and desperation in those descriptions. They're fighting for their lives, but they're also fighting for something more. A chance to reclaim their honor, their freedom, and perhaps even their sense of self.
It's a reminder that even when faced with overwhelming odds, the human spirit can endure.
As the battle rages, Kenji finally gets his chance. He confronts Akita, and in a moment of intense action ends the tyrant's reign once and for all. However, the victory is bittersweet.
Right, the story emphasizes that there's a sense of emptiness in Kenji's victory. He's achieved his goal, but at what cost?
And before disappearing into the smoke, Akiko leaves Kenji with these chilling words. No, this ronin debts are never forgotten.
Her words hang in the air, underscoring the theme of obligation that permeates the story. It makes you wonder if Kenji will ever truly be free from the consequences of his actions.
That ending is quite a cliffhanger. Kenji is free from Akita, but is he truly free? And what about Akiko? What are these debts that she speaks of?
It seems like their journey is far from over. And that's what makes this story so captivating. It leaves you wanting more eager to uncover the next chapter in their intertwined destinies. So we left off with Kenji, right? Standing amidst the aftermath of that intense battle.
He's finally free from Akita's tyranny. But something about the way the sources describe the scene makes it feel like a hollow victory, you know?
Yeah. It's as if the weight of his actions is finally catching up to him. He's achieved his revenge, but it seems to have come at a steep price.
And Akiko's parting words, debts are never forgotten. Those really linger, don't they?
They do. They add a layer of mystery and foreboding. It's like a promise that Kenji's past will continue to haunt him.
Akita is gone, but the sources hint that Kenji disappears. He vanishes without a trace. What do you make of that?
It's an intriguing choice by the storyteller. It leaves us with more questions than answers. Did Kenji seek redemption for his actions? Did he simply run from his past? Or was there something else entirely at play?
It makes you think about the nature of freedom, doesn't it? Is it just about escaping physical constraints, or is there a deeper level of freedom that Kenji is still searching for?
That's a question that philosophers have grappled with for centuries, and this story offers a unique perspective on it. Kenji's physical freedom is undeniable, but his internal struggles suggest that true freedom might be more elusive.
The sources don't provide any concrete answers about Kenji's fate, but they do offer some clues about the world he leaves behind.
Yeah, they describe a society in transition. Feudal Japan is starting to change, and the traditional roles of samurai and ninja are being challenged.
It's like Kenji's story is a microcosm of this larger societal shift. The old codes of honor and loyalty are clashing with new realities.
And it makes you wonder if figures like Kenji and Akiko will find a place in this changing world, or will they be relics of a bygone era?
It's interesting to consider how the themes of this story resonate with modern audiences. Even though it's set in feudal Japan, the struggles of Kenji and Akiko feel timeless.
Absolutely. We still grapple with questions of honor duty and the consequences of our actions. The desire for revenge, the search for redemption, these are universal human experiences.
And the story's ambiguous ending invites us to contemplate these themes on our own. We're left to imagine what becomes of Kenji. Does he find peace? Does he forge a new path for himself?
It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that leave us with unanswered questions. They challenge us to think critically and to draw our own conclusions.
And in a way, isn't that the beauty of storytelling? It sparks our imagination and invites us to participate in the creative process.
Exactly. It's a collaborative effort between the storyteller and the audience, and that's what makes it such a unique and engaging art form.
The story of Kenji and Akiko is a reminder that even in a world of swords and shadows, there's always room for complexity, nuance, and the potential for unexpected connections.
It challenges our preconceived notions about heroes and villains and forces us to confront the gray areas of morality.
Their journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of hope, even in the face of adversity.
And while their story may end here, the questions it raises about honor, freedom, and the search for meaning will continue to resonate with us long after the final page is turned.
You know, it's fascinating how this story, even though it's set in feudal Japan, feels so relevant to us today. The themes of honor betrayal and the search for identity are things we all grapple with in some way.
Absolutely. You know, we often think of samurai and ninja as figures from a distant past, but their struggles with duty, loyalty, and personal sacrifice are incredibly human.
And the story doesn't shy away from the moral complexities. It doesn't give us easy answers about who is right and who is wrong. Instead, it presents these characters as flawed individuals making difficult choices in a world that's constantly shifting around them.
It reminds us that there's often a gray area between good and evil, and that even those we perceive as heroes can be capable of making questionable decisions.
One thing that really struck me was the portrayal of the alliance between Kenji and Akiko. It's not your typical partnership. They're forced together by circumstance, each suspicious of the other's motives. Yet they manage to find a way to work together, even if it's just for a brief time.
It highlights the idea that collaboration can arise from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes even those we consider enemies can become valuable allies when we share a common goal.
It's a reminder that we shouldn't let our preconceived notions and biases prevent us from forging connections with others. You never know where you might find common ground, even with someone who seems completely different from you.
I also find it interesting how the story contrasts the fighting styles of the samurai and the ninja Kenji, with his katana embodies the traditional samurai values of strength, honor, and direct confrontation, while Akiko, with her stealth and agility, represents a more adaptable and unconventional approach to combat.
It's a visual representation of the clash between tradition and innovation. And it makes you wonder if there's a place for both in a world that's constantly evolving.
Perhaps the lesson is that we need to find a balance between honoring our traditions and embracing new ways of thinking and acting. Rigidity can lead to stagnation, but so can reckless abandonment of the values that have guided us for generations.
This story, while seemingly simple on the surface, offers so much to think about. It challenges us to examine our own beliefs about honor duty and the choices we make when faced with adversity.
It's a reminder that even in a world of swords and shadows, there's always room for compassion, understanding, and the possibility of redemption. And those themes, I think, are just as relevant today as they were in feudal Japan.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. Remember, folks, we cover a new story like this every single day on this show. So make sure you rate us and follow Cowboys Versus Ninjas for more of these thrilling tales of samurai and gunslinger adventures. Thanks for listening.